Okay, we will come back into session. Next up is our local government audit issues. And I'll start by saying, I know the committee had put out subpoenas, and I just took the liberty of calling each group prior to the subpoenas going out to let them know what was happening, and that really, we just wanted to get an understanding of where we were in the audit process. And part of this committee's, I think, part of our job is to look at these and see what we can do to make the process easier, to help those entities that have audit issues out there so that this can be a smoother process. So in inviting every one of them here, that's kind of what I explained to them, is that it's not a punishment type of thing, but for this committee, it's accountability. And I think every one of them agreed with that, absolutely. I know some of them are volunteers, so appreciate that with the small towns, and I realize the scope that you sometimes have to jump through to get these audits done. So with that, I think because we only have one working mic up there, we'll just invite the Riverton Recreation District up first. And then we will get kind of an answer from you where you're at in the audit process, maybe your difficulties and what you might see as a benefit in the future. And we'll then go to questions. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm Terry Kuchera. It's nice to meet you this afternoon. I'm the board chair for Riverton Rec 25.
Thank you.
And I'm Cody Beers, the treasurer for District 25 Rec Board. We're both volunteers.
All right. Could you describe for us just where you're at in the process, maybe how the department has helped you get to that point, and where you see yourself in the timeline going forward?
Yes, Mr. Chair. If I can give just a little bit of history, would appreciate that.
Sure.
When the original audit papers came out in 2019, our treasurer at the time started working on it with our board, and I'm the only person still on the board from that time. And the current treasurer at that time was battling cancer. He was actually my other job. I worked for YDOT during the day and then do other things at night, but he was my color man, as you know, Mr. Dockstetter, on my radio broadcast for football, and he was dying of cancer. And so some of the stuff that came out in the audit was due to the fact that he was absent during that time. But we started working on it. The first thing we did was the rest of the board didn't realize that for years, all the checks had come to his house, you know, that we received through the $1 million of grant funding we get. And so immediately we got the automatic deposit started, and that's one of the findings of the audit. So our secretary at that time was working on the audit, and then she was elected president of the school board, which we do have school board members and city council members on our rec board. And those people are all volunteers too. And so we ended up with a new treasurer, that's me, 2 years ago. And then early this spring, we received the letter from the Department of Audit saying that we still needed to meet certain conditions of the audit. And so we have been working ever since, and as of about a month and a half ago, and I want to say the Department of Audit folks, I've become friends with them, been on the phone many hours with them. They've taught me a lot about the intricacies of auditing, which I don't want to know that stuff. It's laborious, it's very intensive, and we also did want to say thank you for subpoenaing us today, but anyway. But anyway, they informed us a month and a half ago that everything is done, it's current, it's up to snuff, and that we're in good shape audit-wise. But we're a board of volunteers, and I think the thing I think Terry would agree with is that the process is very cumbersome for people who work in other areas than accounting. And so what we ended up doing at the end was we hired a CPA to finish the documents, because I literally, despite all the hours on the phone with the latest auditor, Suzanne Marino, I couldn't figure it out. So we decided as a board that we would pay a CPA to do it, and it was done in a day, basically. So we feel good where we're at, and at no way were we saying that we didn't want to fix what was going on, because we were in this as volunteers to help people involved in recreation, including kids. And of course, we do pickleball courts, we do all kinds of cool stuff in Riverton, but we want to do it right. And we know we're accountable to the money, to the Riverton School Board, and to the taxpayers of Fremont County.
I would just like to say too that we are going to continue to have a CPA taking care of everything with us. But the one thing that, as a teacher of 25 years, that I felt like we didn't have was I had to constantly do lesson plans every week. So I knew what my expectation was going to be and what I needed to do, and so did my team. But I felt like we didn't have that. We were given these guidelines, but a lot of the people on the board, we had no idea what that looked like. So it would be the best interest of everyone if we had, like, football players have a playbook. So we know what the documents look like, what it is we need to have in place. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd also add that these documents for special districts like ours, we really don't fit into the forms that these small towns have to use. Boy, it would be nice if they were simplified so that the average ordinary person could take a look at them and say, this isn't rocket science. When, believe me, when I was filling them out, I felt like it was, I was going to the moon sometimes.
Just out of curiosity, what was the original funding for? Did you have a special project that you were doing, or
Mr. Chair,
the direct district?
well, we receive a mill of funding, and then we have a grants night in January. Our fiscal year also, which doesn't fit well with the rest of the fiscal years, is January 1 to December 31st. And so in January, we have a grants night, just like every other special district rec board has. And then groups come in and they bring their project plans to us and ask us to provide them a certain amount of funding. Say they want to buy baseball uniforms, or they want to buy soccer balls, or they want to buy, they want to improve a baseball field, or we got involved in a really cool soccer field project that 2 years ago. So then we only have a certain amount of money that we get from the mill, and we then make decisions on what groups are going to get funding for the year. And so that's how the rec board has worked since the beginning in Riverton.
We do have guidelines and policies too, so that when people come and they fill out the application, they know what the expectation is. Like, you can't get uniforms every year, but every 3 years. So we have guidelines.
Vice Chairman Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here, and sorry we had the time not quite right, but
Go ahead.
I had a question on what the cost on the CPA was, if you could tell us, and then what percentage of that is, maybe would be, what percentage of your budget is that?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received a bill yet from our CPA, but, you know, we're going to pay her what she charges per hour. So I don't know what the going rate is for that type of accounting, but believe me, it's worth every dime for our rec board to be in the right place.
Representative Rodriguez-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Beers, and Ms. Katera. Thank you for being here. Looking at some of the materials that were provided, according to your budget, the latest budget, it says that you have $363,000 approximately in savings/investments, and you're anticipated to spend $248,000 in the community. One of the things that was under the audit, under the compliance section, was that you were to have an approved investment policy as required by state statute. Have you implemented a investment policy, and/or are you investing that money that's in the savings/investment?
Mr. Chair, yes, we have an investment policy, and we've put extra money. The extra money we have currently is invested in WildStar. And you should have that information and we have a separate ledger for that. The reason it has grown a little bit is since 2020, when we were going through the pandemic, we've had more difficulty getting groups to want to do things, and I think it's just a change of attitude. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to find bigger projects, because in no way do we want to have that kind of money in our savings account through WildStar. But WildStar's been great to work with.
Okay. Oh, yes?
Our question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Beers or Ms. Katera. It was noted in your board meeting minutes on May 12th of this year that you hired an assistant, as you mentioned, for $500 a month. Can you confirm that they are on payroll as mentioned in your last audit, or as recommended in your last audit that they should be?
Mr. Beers?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. She is a 1099 employee now. And yeah, and she takes care of putting our meeting minutes together and things like that.
Yes, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's a great segue into my question about Renee Moss. Who is she to the board?
Mr. Chairman, Renee Moss is basically our administrative assistant. She takes minutes. She handles the paperwork that comes in from groups. They have to provide, it's basically a cost reimbursement grant. And so if you buy 10 basketballs and 42 dozen baseballs or whatever you buy that you've been approved for, then they send the information to our PO box, and Renee then takes care of that side of it for us, brings it to the board meeting, and then we review all those costs. She keeps minutes for us. So yeah, that's what she is.
Yes, follow up.
The good representative said this person was put on as a 1099 employee, which you said in May of this year. What I found looking back through your meeting minutes, in 2022, there was $4,626.94. 2023, $5,263.92. 2024, $5,997.80. so far in the year 2025, she has received $4,682.64. So my question would be, were those prior years all that she was paid? Are there additional years beyond 2020 that I could see online? And how, was she given a 1099 or a W-2 for any of the money that she's received prior to 2025?
Mr. Beers?
Mr. Chair, my understanding, and that was before I was on the executive board, was that she was paid for mileage, and no, she was not a 1099 employee before then. But in our discussion with the Department of Audit and through the various items, which she was one of the items, our administrative assistant was one of the items in the audit, we were told by the Department of Audit that we should make her a 1099 employee moving ahead. And so we did that.
Yes, follow-up.
Chairman, thank you for that clarification. One question would be, how long has she worked for the board as an administrative assistant without the proper title?
Mr. Chairman, I believe she's been on board since about 2015, somewhere in there, but I've been on since 2012, and she was relatively new then, so it's been somewhere in that time frame. But I don't have the exact date that she started doing that for us.
And I assume she's still getting paid mileage, or was that just a way of compensating prior to the Department of Audit correcting that?
Mr. Chairman, that was just the way she was being compensated. She checks our mail daily in our mailboxes in Riverton, and so that was a board decision at that time to do that.
Senator Ide?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, folks, for being here and taking the day out of your schedules. It's awful nice of you. Two questions. You get 1 mil from Fremont County for your recreation district. First question is, how much typically is that annually? And the second question is, I used to be on the board of a downtown development authority, and we had the ability to give a tax holiday if we had, enough funds that we really didn't have any projects to spend on it. And can you elect to give a tax holiday on that 1 mil if you've got, the funds that you've built up and you don't necessarily need any more, instead of trying to go out and just spend that money? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what was the first question again? I missed that.
Mr. Chairman, the total dollar amount that you received from that 1 mil.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Senator Ide. It's about $180,000 a year, and this year we gave out more in grant money than that. I believe our budget was somewhere around 200 and some thousand. I don't know anything about tax holiday. I mean, that sounds great. I mean, and I appreciate the fact that my property taxes have dropped, so thank you. But what I would tell you is that 2 years ago, we took money out of that account and we combined it with our normal funding, and we were able to buy, along with thanks to a half-cent economic development tax that had been passed in Fremont County, we were able to buy land, and we were able to put in a new soccer field in Riverton at a minimal cost, because it was done through volunteerism, which our community is awesome at. And we received a very nice soccer field. We just hosted our first tournament on that soccer field this fall, and Riverton is going to become the soccer capital of Wyoming very soon, because we're very centrally located. And so what we want to do is as we're working with soccer to come to us this year with another request, we've been to the ballot a number of times trying to get a rec center in our community. We're very good in our community at funding healthcare. We have a new hospital being put in right now, but we want to do big things for our kids too. And so our plan is to do big things for our kids with a team effort, volunteers, private funding, and this public funding through the rec board. But man, I'd love to hear more about a tax holiday. I don't know anything about that, Senator.
How many board members do you have? And as new people come on now, do you have an educational piece that you teach them that financial aspect of the board, or do you just now rely on the CPA?
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 members of the Riverton City Council, 2 members of the Riverton School Board, and then we have 4 at-large members. I'm an at-large member. Terry is a member of the Riverton School Board. The educational piece we have is our grant handbook, our bylaws, our new policies and procedures that we've adopted through this audit process. So we feel we've got a really nice handbook now. And Terry, if you want to pull out that blue notebook, it'll show you how thick our notebook to show our new members is. And we're thankful for that. That's basically all of our policies and procedures and how we do grant night, and how often we meet, how many members are on our board when our terms expire. We all serve 5-year, the at-large members serve 5-year terms, and then the school board, I believe, is 2 years, right? And the city council is 2 years. So it's pretty well put together. We needed to fix some things in the audit, and we're thankful for that.
Mr. Chair, you also need to know that it's recommended for everybody. I've taken the audit class twice and the one that's offered through the Wyoming School Board group, and we encouraged all of our members to take any of those classes that are offered, and I make that available for them.
All right.
And the city does too.
Other questions?
And Mr.
Yes.
Chair, and
Sorry.
we've all taken that class too.
Okay.
It's a good class through the state.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of questions, but the first one I want to start with is, you named up to 9 board members, but I see online that there's 10, but then when I look at your meeting minutes, Renee Moss is never listed as a board member, but she's listed as a member at large online. My question is she a voting member, or is she just the administrative secretary?
Mr. Chairman, she is not a member at large, and if that is on our website, it needs to be removed. She doesn't vote on anything.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I was reviewing your meeting minutes in November 7th of 2022, and given that you've said you sat on this board for some time, there is a discrepancy over $400 worth of cash that had been withdrawn, but then it says it was replaced. And I was just wondering if you could speak to that situation in whole.
Mr. Beers.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of that.
Follow up?
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your bylaws, which I commend you for amending them and having them with you, under the treasurer's section, it says that the treasurer is to have charge and custody and be responsible for all funds and monies held by the board. And then it continues on offering receipts of payment. My question is, as the treasurer, are you the one signing the checks?
Mr. Chairman, we have multiple people. We have 4 bonded people who sign checks. So every one of our executive board has, so Terry, me, one of our secretary is out here, and who's the other one? Oh, our vice president. So president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer are all bonded and are all signatures on our accounts. We do perjury statements on every bill. Every board member reviews every bill we pay and every reimbursement that we pay back. That happens during every meeting. It's noted in the minutes. And so there's many eyes on our finances, which is a good thing.
Yes, follow up, Representative Lean.
My question for you is, being involved in your community, how many boards do you sit on and how many have you sat on in the past?
Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Chairman, I was president of Riverton Little League Baseball for 6 years, sat on that board for 20 years. I was president of Riverton American Legion Baseball, sat on that board for 6 years. I am currently a member of the City of Riverton Planning and Zoning Commission. I am currently president of the Fremont County Library Foundation. I'm on the rec board, and I've been on there since I went off for just a little bit between 2012 and the present, but I've been on there basically since 2012. I have a lot of irons in the fire, but no, I'm very involved in my community, and I'm very proud of my community, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for your service to your community. We appreciate it. Of the boards that you sit on, how many audits are in good standing? And with what you've learned with this audit, are you implementing it in the other nonprofits?
Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Chairman, I'm currently not involved with American Legion Baseball or Little League. We do an annual audit with the Fremont County Library Foundation. The City of Riverton, I'm a voting member of the Planning and Zoning Board. So I'm not involved directly with the City of Riverton audit in any way. So I'd say that we've learned a lot about auditing through the District 25 Rec Board, and we're going to continue to follow those processes.
Yes, Senator Dockstetter.
Mr. Beers, in the beginning, you talked about simplifying some type of form. What could we streamline? What could we make better in the process?
Mr. Chairman, the forms, the budget forms, a very little bit of that preliminary budget form that turns to a final budget form involves special districts. So it's an 8.5 by 14 form that has a bunch of tabs underneath of it in Excel. And we use one little dinky part of it, I shouldn't say that, on one very small part of that form to do our budget. It would be nice if we were able to do our preliminary budget and our final budget, and then we have what's called, well, I'm trying to remember the name of the form. Do you remember what it is? We just had we have to do another form later on in the year. That's the one that's extremely complicated. I can tell you what it is here. We can look at it. We just had Lynette sign it. It's the third form that's required per year by special districts, where you have to make everything come, it's sort of like balancing your checkbook. It's got to come back to zero at the end. But there's so many different lines that I don't even understand what they are. We have to do a local government annual report summary. We have to respond to surveys. It's very cumbersome. I can get you the names of those various forms, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But remember, we're all volunteers.
Understood.
And so our boards change all the time.
Any other questions? Yes, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you, not you, Mr. Beers, I apologize. Ms. Fritz. When you came before us, you said that you used to have lesson plans. My question is, are you familiar with the special district? Essentially, it's a handout or a book or a pamphlet. It's about 60 pages. It's on the Department of Audit website on how special districts should function. Are you aware of that
No,
document?
because I was a school teacher for first grade for 25 years. So, no, I was just giving an example of how, excuse me, Mr. Chair, how we collaborated together as a team to make things work. And that's how we're trying to do this with the rec board. And we just need to have things streamlined a little bit better so that it's user-friendly for anybody who comes on.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could answer that.
Yes, Mr.
We
Beers.
are aware of that piece of information that's on the website, but it's not exactly stay up late at night reading information, if you know what I mean. It's pretty complex. But it does list deadlines pretty well, so, and we are very aware of that now.
Follow up.
Yes, Representative Lean.
While we're trying to figure out the best way to be able to help our special districts, can you talk to me about the receipt process by which you're reimbursing people? Do you keep envelopes of receipts? Do you digitize them? Are they stored somewhere in particular?
Mr. Beers.
Mr. Chairman, everything that we receive back from our grants is stored at the District 25 central office. But as the receipts are coming in, we get them in a number of ways. Depends if it's the baseball coach or the mom who's helping out with the booster club or something like that at the various high school. But what we require is the receipts. And then that's part of the work that our administrative assistant does for us, is bring those totals. We look at all the receipts. We have the perjury statement that's attached to the top of all that stuff. And we pass those around at every meeting when we make payments, and everybody initials that perjury statement. Terry and I each sign it, or the other two that are bonded, and then we write the check and we mail it through our administrative assistant to the group. And that's how we take care of it. It's very well looked at. I mean, it'd be very difficult for anything bad to happen because all of our eyes are on that.
I know that audit CPAs are very difficult to find. How did you come across at least a CPA that was willing to help out with the district?
Mr. Chairman, we have very good CPAs in our town, and the CPA we use is very pro-kid, pro-recreation, and was very willing to help us out.
Great, thank you. Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Does your board have full spending autonomy with a majority vote? Or how does that work when you decide to take on a project? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the answer is yes. And I guess partly, we approve, we give groups they come to us and make a presentation, and then we approve it by majority vote. And then they come back to us for reimbursement. So we don't make any decisions unless a group comes to us and asks for those funds and has a good plan. You know, and often, like the soccer field plan, Mr. Chairman, involves, long-term maintenance. How are you going to take care of this for the foreseeable future? So we don't just throw money out there. We don't go to the store and write checks. It's a reimbursement type situation.
Yes, Representative Lean.
Mr. Chairman, you talk about your administrative assistant, and I assume she's supplying either fuel receipts or some kind of documentation for her mileage. Is there anyone else on your board that is receiving any kind of incentive to be there?
Mr. Chairman, the answer is no.
Any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank you again for coming, and it's congratulations on your completion of your audit. And like I told some people, it's going to be more of a success story in letting us know what you need from the state that will help you in the future as you go forward. So we appreciate you coming and answering questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say a special thanks to the good folks in the state auditor's office, phenomenal public servants. And they've been very willing to work hard with us to educate us on the process. And for that, I'm truly thankful. Are we excused? Can we go?
Yes, you're excused. Thank you for.
Thank you, Representative Knapp.
Sticking out the day.
Yes, thank you all. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, Mr. Chair, too, we appreciated that the audit department did Zoom meetings. So we had many of those with them. It was great.
All right, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. All right, next up, we will have the town of Bear River. And I
Mr. Chairman.
believe they're online, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, we'll turn on the camera. Right there.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome. Please introduce yourselves, and we'll start with maybe a rundown of your situation and where you're at in the process, and then we'll go for questions.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Barb Couture, Clerk Treasurer of Bear River.
I'm Clyde Kofod, the mayor of Bear River. And as far as a rundown goes, I'll go through that. First of all, we'd like to thank the state auditors for giving the suggestions of how our town can improve the town processes and procedures. It's been a very big learning curve for me being a new mayor and being new into these positions. We apologize for our delay in implementing the improvement plans. The audit plans were interrupted by the untimely and unexpected death of Mayor Stokes 3 years ago. And then it was followed up with an interim mayor for about a year. And then when I was elected mayor, this was brought to our attention. When myself and the new council, we were seated in January of 25, we started to examine the audit recommendations about the same time as the budget was being reviewed. We included in our budget funds for an audit by a CPA firm with audit practice. Following our budget sessions, the town of Bear River adopted resolutions to put in as policies and procedures that were requested by the committee. We understand that you have a copy of the letter that we sent to Richard Cummings. Is that correct? Everybody should have that with everything attached to it? Okay.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
And this includes the resolutions and our efforts this far to make the policies and procedures for the town of Bear River better. I want you to know that we are committed to improvement and reviewing these resolutions each year. And again, it has been a big learning process for me through this to understand this whole process, I guess is the best way to put that. Questions that you may have for us?
All right, committee? Any questions? Representative Lean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for appearing today. I do appreciate your time. My question is, just on your comment about learning how to do all of this, if you could give one piece of advice to those young folks that are learning civics, what would it be?
Dig into the political process and the policies and procedures. I come out of the private sector, and in business, we've got our way of doing things, and it's totally different. And there's a different way of going about things. I would tell them to learn about how our process works, how our government works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any other questions? Well, we appreciate you zooming in. We appreciate the documentation that you sent in as well. Like we said, I think understanding and learning where people were at in the process and actually how much the state audit department does help to get through this. So that's good to hear. Yeah, we have one question from Vice Chairman Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I should have jumped up sooner before you were about to end there, but are you are you a member of the WAM? I guess would be my first question.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are.
Follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. So you've probably been to some of their meetings, I'm guessing, and
Yes.
are some of your resolutions that you put forward, have they been discussed in some meetings? And do you think this would help other cities and towns to kind of help them out?
Yes, I believe so. I just took for granted that all this was done, right? I just took that for granted that everything was in place. And when we come in to see how it's all put together, I think it would be very valuable to talk about this in these type meetings. Where are you at? What do they look like? We're growing as a small town, and we're looking at changes that are coming down the road. And how does that affect not only our ordinances and covenants and that type of thing, but also these things. So yes, it would help. It would have helped me a bunch to talk about.
Follow up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. It's great to hear that. I hope the WAM is hearing this. I'm sure they are. They're in the room. And hopefully some of your ideas come forward for others. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
If I may, WAM has done a great job at helping us as we dig into these things. They've done a wonderful job and very helpful, very supportive, and I'm glad that we have them.
Any other questions? Yes. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question. What is the annual budget of Bear River, just for sake of
Ballpark
detecting-
735,000 and some change.
Okay. 735,000.
Follow up? Any other questions? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In prior testimony, we heard that the forms could be simplified that you're using to fill out, such as your F-66 or F-32s. Could you give us any of your experience using those forms?
Mr. Mayor, Treasurer.
Okay, yes. I've never, I think they are, I don't think they're that difficult to follow. And if I ever had any questions, I would contact the audit office.
They've been very helpful.
And they have always helped me right through the problem I had at hand.
Follow up? Any other questions? All right, well, I truly appreciate you appearing, and thank you for your service. And it's good to hear that, again, the state has been very helpful in helping along, and that WAM has a role in that as well. So thank you again for appearing today.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and thank you guys. Appreciate it. Appreciate
you.
your support.
All right. Next, we will have the town of Manderson. Rod Patrick. No. I know the feeling. All right, welcome. If you can identify yourselves and then give a public comment to where you're at in the process, and then we'll ask for questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Rod Patrick. This is my Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Patrick. We run for the mayor and the council because the town was really having a hard time. They weren't getting anything done, and we thought maybe we could get in there and help it out again. We've been there before. It's been a little bit more difficult, but with the auditors, they've really helped us out, and I think we're getting to the position where we want to be in.
I'd like to give a little more history than Rod give. We're not as good as speakers as them last two groups, so, you know, we're kind of hillbillies. You'll just have to put up with us a little bit, but we'll get through this, I promise. Over the past 50 years, guys, through my father and through myself and through my brother, we've served as mayor and council for many, many years. What Rod was saying earlier is both Rod and I retired. I mean, we didn't want to do this again, but what we seen that was going on, we felt that we needed to jump in and straighten it out once more. So here we are. 4 years ago, you know, it took, and I hate to keep saying that the last administration, but that's exactly where this come from. We was not on the councilor or anything during that period of time. So there's going to be a lot of questions you ask us we're not going to be able to answer. But, you know, we've got 3 people on the council. It's been very successful business people all their lives. You know, we love our community. That's why we jumped back in to do this. We didn't realize, we knew that there was quite a mess, but we didn't realize the mess that we dove into when we done this. So just a little background on us, but I would like to read a letter that I proposed or that I put together, if I may, to kind of explain it more in depth of where we're going with this, and then we'll let you guys go ahead and.
Absolutely, thank you.
And it's as the mayor of Manderson, I'm speaking for my brother Rod. I better put my glasses on or we're gonna really mess this up. I feel compelled to respond to the Joint Management Audit Committee's decision on July 9th, 2025, to issue subpoenas to the towns of Manderson. While understanding the importance and accountability in public service, I must express serious concern over the committee's approach and the message it sends to the communities like ours. The audit findings that prompted this action reflect a time period prior to the tenure of the current town clerk, treasurer, and council. We inherited a deeply flawed financial situation, one that we have worked diligently and transparently to correct in close coordination with the Wyoming Department of Audit. Since taking office, our administration has made significant strides in addressing these issues left behind, implementing new procedures and ensuring compliance with state standards. To be subpoenaed without first being invited to speak voluntarily is not only unprecedented, but it is also disheartening. It disregards the good faith efforts of current leadership and staff who are committed to restoring trust and integrity to our local government. The use of subpoena power, typically reserved for those who refuse to cooperate, was in this case both unnecessary and inappropriate. We feel that if you would have called us and asked us to come down without subpoenaing us, we would have come in a heartbeat. And we come because we got subpoenaed, because we've got to. We welcome oversight and are eager to share the process we made, but we respectfully ask the legislature recognize the difference between those who created this problem and those of us that are working to correct this problem. And believe me, it's been a job in progress. It's not easy. We hired a bookkeeper, as you all well know, I'm sure. And Sandy, I can't ever remember her last name. Sandy Richards. She's the one that has taken everything over for us because we've had some black eyes in the past with, in the last 4 years prior to our tenure. She's done us a great job. You know, the thing I guess that I really want to talk about is we received the letter on the final audit on May 28th of this year. On July 9th, through the Wyoming State Daily, we read that we was going to be subpoenaed. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's hard to correct something in a month and a half that took 4 years to create. We're diligently working on that as a council and as mayor. But, you know, we're not going to get it done in a month and a half, but I will tell you the progress we've made is, you know, we hadn't received any state funds for quite some time because F-66s weren't done. Those have all been done now, I'm sure, as you all know. We're receiving our monies now. We had 4 years of banking that we had to reconcile. We're not done reconciling those. We've got 2 years, and now we're working back from those 2 years to get those reconciled. Sandy Richard is working diligently with our audit department. She's in contact with them all the time on the things that we need to do. We've received a list from the audit department of things that we must do right now, and some of those things, and it's being done on a monthly basis, general ledger, court revenues, meeting minutes, bank statements. All these are being submitted now on a timely basis and will continue to be submitted on a timely basis. As far as oversight, the oversight with Rod and I has never changed from when we was mayor and council before to what we are now. As a mayor and as a councilman, we go through every check that's written at every meeting. We've got 5 people that's got to sign off on those checks to make sure that it's all done. We're going over the deposits on a regular basis with the new bookkeeper. We're pretty much doing, I think, everything that we've been asked to do. So, you know, we would be welcome to answer the questions that we can answer, because a lot of this that is going to come back to us is prior to our tenure with the audit in 2021-22.
And I want to apologize. I've been in the hospital with eye cancer, knee replacement. I've got 2 back surgeries coming up. So that's why Tim is doing most of the talking, because he's been, thank God, taking my place in a lot of this, helping me out while I'm going through this.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that background.
You're welcome.
Questions from the committee? Well, again, I'd like to reiterate, appreciate what you do. Appreciate you coming back in to get things cleaned up.
You're left and we're done, ever.
So I think what happens, you know, at least I've been on the audit committee for some time now, and we get a list of non-compliance, and that list seems to be the same every year and every year. And so I think that's what the subpoena level ended up being. And so we tried to call people and say, hey, it's not a punishment thing. We just want to understand where you're at and what's happening. So thank you for coming. We really do appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have some questions. So Representative Rodriguez-Williams, let's do you first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here with us this afternoon. One of my biggest concerns in the audit was the fact there was no W-4s or I-9s on file for any employees or governing body members of the town or for the town. Can you tell me where you're at with that when it comes to federal obligations?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chair, again, Sandy Richards is one that's taking care of that now. As far as the W-2s and I-9s during that period, we would know nothing about that. So you know, with the new bookkeeper that we've got aboard is taking care of all the I-9s, the W-2s, W-4s, everything that we've got to comply with the state. So as far as going forward, yes, that stuff's being complied to. As far as going back to those years, we have nothing we can tell you on that part of it.
Follow up? Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for making the time to come today. We do appreciate it. As the good chairman stated, time was of the essence, and so that was the call that I made to ask for the subpoena. So I do appreciate that you came and that you're speaking with us on the procedural things that we could fix. In prior testimony, we did talk about the forms on the F-66 or the F-32. Could you talk to me about what do you see when you use that form?
Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'll tell you this, I'm not the bookkeeper, so I can't tell you a lot on that. You know, we trust and put our confidence in our bookkeeper because she's a very good bookkeeper and she's taken care of all that. To be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you what an F-66 was, you know, because that's not my expertise. You know, we're mayor and council, we know it's got to be done, but if you've got a bookkeeper that does it, you know, we pretty much let her do it.
Follow up?
Follow up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you remind me, you said that you were in this for some time, over a number of decades between your family members that you've been helping out within the mayor position. Could you tell me again what the time gap is from when you left previous to where you came back in now? Was that 2 years, 4 years, 8 years?
Mr. Mayor.
And let's see, I think that when, Mr. Chairman, we was out, I don't remember if you was out 4 years. I think we were both out 4 years prior to rerunning this last time. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was, is 4 years. It was 4 years or 2 years, but I'm pretty sure it was 4.
Follow up? Senator Hyde.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you guys for being here. I like to think I identify as a hillbilly as well. So when you made that comment earlier, I have just a quick question. I've got an old friend that lives in Hyattville. Geopolitically, is Hyattville separate from Manderson, or is it all one and the same? Thank you.
22 miles east of us. Who's your friend in Hyattville?
Mr. Chairman, Phil Keynes.
I know Phil very well.
Mr. Chairman, I went to school with him in Manderson for 4 years. I worked with him at McGarf and Moberly through my business, and he's really good kid. Well,
Mr. Chairman,
Follow up?
just to play off of that, we used to rodeo together, and we always called him Wild Phil from Hyattville. Thanks.
I'll bet you've done a lot of roping then.
Mr. Mayor, who did you say, what is the name of the person that's kind of taken things over and is working with the state?
Sandy Richards.
Sandy Richards.
Richard.
And does she regularly give you updates on where she's at in the process?
Absolutely, almost on a daily basis.
Okay,
I
thank
mean,
you.
one of us are in her office in Worland pretty much every day of the week. So we're going over everything that's being done on a daily basis.
Do you have a time frame that you foresee things being completed?
Well, I ask her that question all the time and she kind of laughs at me, but, you know, her thing is she just keeps telling us that, you know, we can't fix 4 years in a month and a half. And I agree with that. I mean, she's got many different clients that she works with, but I'll tell you, she spends the majority of her time on the Manderson stuff that we've got to get taken care of. And, you know, the biggest problem we've got, as you all know, as senators and legislators, these small towns really strive or really struggle to make ends meet. I mean, all we've got is 50 water taps. We've got no state things that the bigger cities got. the things, you know, what we get in direct distributions, and thank you all for that, but the direct distributions just barely covers our administration cost in these small towns. And I think as you all well know, is we've got 99 municipalities in the state of Wyoming. And 66 of those, if I remember right, I served on the WAM board for 4 or 5 years, I forget what it was, but we've got 66 of those communities that are 600 people or less. And I mean, that's the big majority of the state of Wyoming. And, you know, I guess that, you know, and I've asked this many times with many different legislatures and our governor and a lot of you senators is we need to figure a way to get these small towns more funds. We're paying $2,500 a month for this bookkeeper. I think and don't quote me on this, I'm just coming off the top of my head, but I think we get 38 or 48,000 a year in direct distributions. You know, we're gonna be broke in 6 months paying her. Not 6 months, it's gonna be about a year is what it's gonna be. But I think that if we don't get something straightened out on this funding for these small towns, you're gonna see a lot of towns like Manderson be forced to go in unincorporated because the money's just not there. I mean, we've got no way other than bake sales and white elephant deals to put any money in our coffers. So, yeah, and I'm not speaking for just us, I'm speaking for the entire state. I think that every mayor that's listening to this today would agree that we all struggle tremendously to make ends meet. And I know we've got a lot of senators and congressmen that feel that these small towns shouldn't even be given any direct distributions. But I just wanted to bring that, I didn't need to bring that because you guys already know it. I see a lot of you shaking your heads. We know that we've got to give these towns more funds. But guys, we've got to work something out or we're going to lose a lot of these small towns. And I'll tell you, we lose these small towns, we've lost Wyoming. And
Senator Dockstetter.
Mr. Chairman, that was actually the topic of a conversation. I had breakfast with our congresswoman this week over in the southwestern part of the state, and she brought this up specifically referencing small towns and that they may go away unless we find a solution for them.
you know, and I firmly believe they will. I mean, I've said since we've got in this is our third year, Rod and I will be done next January. But I don't think that we're, in all reality, the way things are looking, I don't think we're gonna be a corporate city. We're gonna be unincorporated before our term's over, and I firmly believe that. And I know that we talk to a lot of mayors in different towns, and they all tell us that our issues are not the only ones that has those issues. So I would hate to see it, and I know you guys have got the power of the purse, and you guys can make things change. And we just, as small towns, pray that we get some cooperation from our senators and from our congressional body to start helping these small towns in a different way than and don't get me wrong, we appreciate the help you've given. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't even be a town. So.
Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, quick question on that regarding incorporated versus unincorporated. If all of them, you know, the direct distributions effectively go into the bookkeeper, what are the downsides of going unincorporated? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Ide, let me answer that this way is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I probably am wrong. When a town's got to go unincorporated, doesn't the two towns next to that town have the right to take them over? And if they can't take them over, does that go back to the county or does that go back to the state? I would have to do a little homework, but maybe you guys know that.
I don't know, Mr. Anderson, off the top of your head, do you know that? Oh, when a town has to go unincorporated, does that split between the two other jurisdictions closest, or how does that work? Okay. You know, and we have that problem with even water sewer districts.
Right.
And water districts, as we do grow in Wyoming, we really have to watch how we're doing that so that people do have the resources to replace a system or have maintenance on a system, and because there's just not enough people there to keep it going, so.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we got 50 taps and that's it. I mean, and you all understand the enterprise account. It's gotta stand on its own. So, you know, we can't take from it, we can't give to it. So, you know, with 50 taps and we've got an aging sewer system and water transmission lines and a water tank that needs to be done. And, you know, if we've got to go to SLIBs and get a SLIBs grant, you know, the 25%, we do not have it. I mean, there's no way, and we've lost our schools, so I'm sure that we're not going to get a lot of cooperation, you know, from SLIBs at this point because there's nothing there but a bunch of old retired people.
Mr. Chairman, in our water, we're a very, very poor community. Out of the 50 taps, we probably have 10 people that are not paying their bill. So we're really struggling at making ends meet. And then our water bill is probably, water and sewer is probably one of the highest in the state, or one of the higher.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Any other questions? Well, again, thank you for coming and kind of educating us on your situation, and I'm sure there's many more like that across Wyoming, so we appreciate it.
And I'd like to thank, like the rest of the groups did, thank our auditing group back there. I'll tell you, they've been a lot of help. I know that our bookkeeper's calling you guys all the time on different things, and we certainly appreciate it like everybody else has. So, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you for the time, and can we be excused now too?
Well, we hope you see this as a positive. We do. And you can frame your subpoena and just stick it on the town hall wall.
Get it right here, Mr. Chairman, and we will definitely. If you could send us one with the seal that's got the color in it.
Thank you very much for coming.
Say hi to Wild Phil for me when you go back.
We'll do that. We'll do that, Senator Hyde.
All right, well, is there any other public comment in the room on this particular issue of audits and Representative, yes?
Mr. Chairman, is it possible to bring Department of Audit up?
Sure, if they're willing. Kudos to you for working with the different entities across Wyoming in getting their audit complete. So, comments you might have, and then we'll take questions from the committee.
I don't have any additional comments.
Representative Rodriguez-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Director, Mr. Chavez, thank you for coming back up. The Town of Manderson audit, I would say, was probably one of the most extreme that we looked at during the last meeting, our extreme cases. Can you tell me just from your perspective, where we're at or where they're at with compliance? And then I know that the audit was sent to DCI, if I remember correctly, and there were some federal involvement, or there was a potential for federal involvement as well because of some of the things that were in that audit as well. Can you tell me where we're at with all of that?
I will let Public Funds Administrator answer that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Rodriguez-Williams. Right now, with the town of Manderson, where we're at is we have them giving us monthly updates. So that way we're checking on where they're at in their progress and everything. And as of, I mean, we were kind of talking about they're compliant with their reporting with us at this point in time and everything, so. As far as, I'm sorry if am I missing, what, can you kind of, pardon? Oh. We did meet with DCI regarding some of the concerns that we had with missing information and everything like that. And so we had DCI looking into it, but
along the way, DCI didn't have anything. They were involved in another investigation going on with the town of Manderson as well at that same time, and so they were kind of lumping it together, but in the end, they didn't have anything further to go with it, and so it kind of, they closed the investigation on that, on our part.
Follow up? All right, thank you very much. Is there any other public comment from within the room on the audit issues, government audit issues? Anybody online?
Mr. Chairman, no, not for this topic. Thank you.
Okay. Any committee directives on this one? No? Okay, we will move on. Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Rodriguez-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for discussion for the committee, I've appreciated the reports that we have got from Department of Audit and that we have continued to receive through email. I think it's an important role of this body to continue to monitor some of them that come through and are, might be alarming or of concern to the legislative body. We are, looking at it kind of with some oversight eyes. And again, our goal really is to make sure that they're all being good stewards of the taxpayer dollars that are allocated through them or to them through the legislative body, whether it's through direct distribution or mills, special districts, et cetera. I'm not sure what the chairman's desire is moving forward of this committee, but I think it's important to continue to stay on this topic when it comes to agenda setting. That's my personal belief moving forward.
Thank you. You make very good points, and along with program auditing, it's my intention that this committee will continue to monitor and go forward to make sure that taxpayer funds are being allocated and accounted for properly. So absolutely. Any other comments? All right. We will move on to the Weston County Clerk 2024 General Election Subcommittee. And if we can receive that report, do you want LSO to present, or would you like to present that, Chairman? Okay. So if you would proceed, you can sit where you're at, or you can sit on the dais.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll skim through the subcommittee report from here. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, you have a report in front of you that's dated October 6, 2025. As you recall, the subcommittee within this committee was created to receive testimony specifically regarding the post-election audit results that were submitted by the Weston County Clerk following the 2024 general election, and to recommend any potential statutory changes appropriate to address similar circumstances in the future. At the conclusion of the subcommittee's September 29th, 2025 meeting in Casper, LSO staff were directed to produce a comprehensive draft report that includes a summary of the meeting, testimony, information on the administrative process used to investigate election complaints, and a statement of substantial findings. Mr. Chairman, all testimony that the subcommittee heard is not completely referenced in this report. There's basically, kind of a snapshot view, but as you know, all of our meetings are recorded, and any member of this committee can go back and watch some of the additional testimony that was provided. All subcommittee members did contribute to reviewing this report and editing it. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, this report did get published prior to my approval. However, it looks like everything was included that the subcommittee did request. And then I'll also point out that individual subcommittee members might also have independent recommendations, as well as your committee at large, after we go through this report. Just on the background here, on page 1, the governor's office received a verified complaint from 9 qualified electors of Weston County seeking the removal of the Weston County Clerk, Becky Hadlack, for misconduct and/or malfeasance in office. A second verified complaint from a single qualified elector was received by the governor's office on January 10th, 2025. And in summary, these allegations included, mishandling election ballots by ordering and using multiple ballot versions in the general election, improperly testing voting machines during the primary and general elections, using incorrect ballots in the general election, which necessitated hand recounts and causing an undervote of 1,289 votes. In this investigation of those allegations, the governor's office indicated that Clerk Hadlock did not deny any of these 4 alleged acts. The governor's office ultimately decided that Clerk Hadlock's actions did not rise to the level of misconduct or malfeasance in office. On March 10th, 2025, Secretary of State Gray sent a letter to Governor Gordon, Attorney General Hill at the time, and Weston County Attorney Stulkin, formally requesting Clerk Hadlock's removal from office. The basis for Secretary of State's request included the same allegations as those contained in the verified complaints made previously by qualified electors, but it also included an additional allegation that Clerk Hadlock filed a false post-election audit with the Secretary of State office. Post-election audits are required of all clerks, as the committee heard through testimony from the Secretary of State, and a minimum of 75 ballots are randomly selected for review. This additional allegation by Secretary Gray further indicated that a hand count by the Weston County Canvassing Board confirming significant vote counting errors in 2 races. The incorrect post-election audit remained unchanged. At Secretary of State Gray's insistence, Clerk Hadlock filed a second post-election audit 6 days after her initial filing. This second filing identified 21 ballots out of a random sample of 75 with a discrepancy. In his request for the removal of Clerk Hadlock, the Secretary Gray highlighted this additional allegation as an indication of a repeated and heightened level of misconduct. As you know, at the committee, at the request of the chairman, the Management Audit Committee added this topic to the agenda for our July 9th meeting. The issue of the false post-election audit was presented by Secretary of State Gray. This additional allegation by the Secretary of State's office, though not a verified complaint by either a qualified elector of Weston County or the Weston County Board of Commissioners, served as one of 2 principal factors underlying the creation of the subcommittee from this committee. The other principal factor was a number of concerns raised by Weston County voters, as evidenced by the 2 verified complaints made to the governor's office by Weston County qualified electors. The subcommittee was tasked with determining whether or not there were any legislative solutions to address the Weston County 2024 election issue and better respond to comparable circumstances in the future. Mr. Chairman, the subcommittee met on September 29th to review the testimony surrounding the 2024 general election ballot count in Weston County. The meeting is on YouTube on the legislative website. Mr. Chairman, you did subpoena the Weston County clerk to appear at our subcommittee meeting. Clerk Hadlock failed to appear at the meeting, and the subcommittee did note that the clerk refused to honor the subpoena, compelling her testimony in accordance with Wyoming Statute 28.1.109 through 28.1.112. We did recess at that time for 5 minutes to contact Management Audit Committee Chairman Knapp regarding the enforcement of the subpoena and to confer with our LSO staff. I'll move on to the Weston County Election Hand Count Committee members that were present. On page 3 of the subcommittee report, you can see that Deborah Piana, a member of the Weston County Hand Count Committee, did testify. Then we also heard testimony from Ann Slagle, a longtime election judge and member of the Weston County Hand Count Committee. We also heard further testimony from Secretary Gray, highlighting his concerns that the office had regarding the 2024 post-election audit submission from Weston County. All of those documents that his office submitted are attached to your documents today. The governor's office did testify as well. Ms. Anderson, who serves as general counsel and deputy chief of staff for Governor Gordon, testified regarding the response to the verified complaints. Furthermore, Ms. Anderson explained that the governor's office determined there was no misconduct, malfeasance, gross negligence, or willful negligence by Clerk Hadlock. There was questions asked of Ms. Anderson. Ms. Anderson did state, as stated in this report, that a complaint could now be made in regards to the post-election audit, but only a qualified elector of the Weston County or the Weston County Board of Commissioners could do it based on the statutory requirements, according to her interpretation. Ms. Anderson also responded to questions about Governor Gordon's decision not to act on the prior requests for removal of the Weston County clerk. And she also acknowledged the importance of Secretary of State's oversight in the election process. The bottom of page 3, the subcommittee report talks about the Wyoming County Clerks Association. We heard testimony from Malcolm Irvin, who serves as a Platte County clerk and president of the Wyoming County Clerks Association. He did testify regarding the statewide election process, shared his insight as president of the Clerks Association. He emphasized best practices for hand counts, ballot auditing, and training. Clerk Irvine highlighted the need for clear statutory guidance, improved communication between the counties and the Secretary of State's office, and support for clerks to conduct accurate audits, reconcile discrepancies efficiently. Moving on to page 5. Sorry, my pages were mixed up here. We heard from the Fremont County Clerk, Julie Fries. She testified about ballot proofing and approval processes. She noted to the committee that 3 versions of ballots circulated in Weston County's 2024 general election, and they caused misalignment issues, further noting that the machines only operate correctly with properly printed ballots. Clerk Fries confirmed that the post-election audits serve to reveal misaligned ballots. Clerk Fries then recommended reforms, including forming audit working groups, improving training, refining testing standards, better ballot custody procedures, and potential legislative collaboration regarding earlier primary election dates. Again, Mr. Chairman, we heard from many members of the public who participated through YouTube and then also in person. The subcommittee did provide some conclusions, and I'll go through those real quick. In addition to the valid version of Weston County's 2024 general election ballot, 2 invalid versions of the same ballot were distributed for use, causing machine reading errors that resulted in 1,279 votes cast that were incorrectly identified by the Weston County Clerk as undervotes. This concern was cited in both of the verified complaints made by Weston County qualified electors, as well as the unverified complaint made by Secretary Gray. Number 2, election processes, including post-election audit processes required of all counties, are almost exclusively overseen by county clerks. The Weston County Clerk's submission of the county's post-election audit results to the Secretary of State's office failed to identify 21 instances of machine reading errors in a random sample of 75. These errors led to a complete hand count of 4-2 races, exposing valid candidate votes that were not counted in the original vote count, rather than conforming widespread undervoting. Number 4, pursuant to Wyoming Statute 18.3, 902A, only qualified electors and county boards or commissioners can make verified complaints against a county officer for misconduct or malfeasance in office for the governor's consideration. This requirement could limit the ability of persons with awareness of errors and omissions in largely internal processes from being able to file a verified complaint. As stated during testimony, a verified complaint regarding the false post-election audit could still be made by either a qualified elector of Weston County or the Weston County Board of Commissioners. In addition to this report for consideration by the Management Audit Committee, during its October 21st meeting, the subcommittee asked LSO for a few bill drafts that are included in your packet today. Mr. Chairman, that is the conclusion of the subcommittee report. And I think that there's probably there is a couple things that subcommittee members might want to discuss and or recommend further outside of the subcommittee report.
All right, Madam Chairman, just a question that I had for the subcommittee. So the governor's office, as I listened to testimony on YouTube, the fact that they found no misconduct, malfeasance, gross negligence, or willful negligence by Clerk Haddock had only to do with the verified complaints on the ballot issues. It did not have anything to do with the audit, correct?
Mr. Chairman, the committee was given a copy of the governor's investigation, and yes, that is correct. It did not have to do with they did not investigate the post-election audit specifically.
And in her in her, I guess, comments, she also stated that if an elector did come forward with a complaint, the governor's office would be obligated to address that complaint with the audit. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Questions from the committee? Representative Lean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't so much have a question, but I just want to point out that in the governor's letter, he did mention that it was done sloppy and lacked attention to detail, but he did not find that anything was done with malice.
And you're talking about the process, not his investigation?
Correct.
All right. Any other questions from the committee on the report itself? Madam Chair, there were several draft bill considerations that came from the report. Do you want to review those?
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to review those. I would like to discuss the report a little bit as well, if you want to do that before or after the bill drafts.
Let's go ahead and discuss the report now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So committee, as you know, Ms. Hadlock did not appear in front of the subcommittee as she was subpoenaed to do. One of the options that the committee does have, according to our legal counsel, is according to Wyoming State Statute 28-1-112, the committee could court order her to appear to give testimony on the matter under inquiry, and that is an option. And I would defer to LSO for what that process looks like. Also, Mr. Chairman, I would also make the committee aware that federal law does prohibit forms of election tampering, specifically under 18 USC 10307C, malfeasance by elected officials under color of law when federal candidates are on the ballot. So perhaps any further investigation that this committee chooses to do or not do, a forwarding of this report, since we are a separate branch of government, might be in order. I bring that to the committee as well. And then, Mr. Chairman, I'll add my personal thoughts as well as chairman of the subcommittee. In regards to the totality of all of the testimony that was heard, and again, not all the testimony is included in this subcommittee report, and I hope that members of this committee take the time, or did take the time, to watch that YouTube meeting. But I would state that given the testimony and the circumstances that were made available to the subcommittee, it certainly suggests that an attempt was made by Clerk Hadlock to cover up the errors that were made with the false post-election audit. Again, that's my own personal conclusion.
All right. Did you have any other comments, Madam Chair?
Mr. Chairman, no, I just bring up the first two suggestions for perhaps, I don't know if we would need a motion or further discussion on process of some of the options that are available for the committee at large, or for the subcommittee to continue to do work on the issue.
Any comments or questions? So I will tell you, when I brought this forward, I had some objectives as a oversight committee, and that was to find out exactly what happened during that election and see if there was some way of preventing that from happening in the future. It would have been nice to have Clerk Hadlock's testimony in finding that out, but to see what the governor had laid out in their investigation, so that we just had a better understanding of what had occurred factually, and to take that as a white paper and either pass that on to other committees that are working on hand count bills or anything like that that may prevent this, such as corporations. So that was one issue. I think just from reading newspaper articles, I guess, there has been a second complaint with several citizens concerning the audit itself, which I think that became a whole nother question, because that really wasn't truly investigated by the governor's office, because there was no complaint basically on that previously. My recommendation would be to accept the subcommittee's report, pass that on to other committees to use for kind of shoring up our election law or accountability, or hand counting, or something that would have definitely prevented this from happening in the first place, or being able to see it immediately upon the end of that election. So I'd like to hear from anybody else on the committee as to accepting the report. I view it as a findings of fact. It is not up to us to do a conclusions of law because we're not a court body. That's for other people to look at and decide, especially with the second complaint that was filed. So we don't have any misunderstanding there of what our role is. But just hearing from other committee members, I'd like to get an idea of where your thoughts are at. Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It was my pleasure to be on that subcommittee. I think we were very, it was enlightening, especially the testimony from the Secretary of State, I think, on the post-election audit. That's a big deal for us, and we, like we've said before, I think we need to keep pressing that issue, that there was a false report. I do want to mention that at the very end of that meeting, we had some newsletter journal, I think I can go ahead and say that, in committee testify. There was four people that are employed in there, and their testimony was very enlightening. I have quite a page of notes on that, if anybody would like to see them. But the response I got from the clerk was not very encouraging. I think they're just trying to report what happened and what has happened, and that's a bummer. I think the bills we've presented, I think they're important to keep moving forward. So I will support those.
Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was also on that subcommittee, and to just play off of Vice Chair Larson, the testimony not only from the Secretary of State and the Speaker of the House, who was the victim of what happened, but the testimony from the people from Weston County. And it was hard to refute what they had really no axe to grind other than the truth, or getting to the truth. And I think the subcommittee did, a really good job of taking testimony and being patient. We were here, 4 or 5 hours longer than we intended to be, to give everybody a shot at defending themselves, so to speak. And it was unfortunate that we didn't have the person that was intended to be there show up, because that was the reason effectively that we had the meeting. And that, to me, says a lot about why wouldn't you want to come defend yourself. I'm not saying who's guilty or who's not, but you at least like to get both sides of the argument to make a good decision, and we never got that. The last thing I'll say is we just recently received some verified complaints from, local electors of Weston County, and I don't know how that affects the governor's decision that he sort of, to a degree, punted on that because there wasn't any local complaints there. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, can I follow up on some of this? I had one major topic I wanted to mention is that our tabulating machines, or I think they can be compromised, as we all know now. This is a big deal that you could put through 3 different ballots by mistake, and you can see what the results are. So I would encourage all of us to keep contacting our commissioners at the local level, county commissioners. They can say that they don't, that they won't use those machines. It is a may in the statutes. And so I think we ought to all keep pushing our commissioners to really look at this. I by far would trust my fellow citizens in counting than the machines. So that's my comment.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that serving on this committee was really eye-opening, and the testimony was very enlightening. I do still have a lot of questions when it comes to Clerk Hadlock. Many things surrounding the 3 different ballots, many things surrounding the machine alignments, the training that she received, nothing that is personally detrimental, but everything that has to do with procedures of the clerk. And I'm really trying to understand that process, and I really feel like I didn't have an opportunity to do that because she did not appear. And so I would ask LSO, what would a time frame be to make a motion to have her come before us via court order? Do we have the opportunity to do that prior to session starting?
Mr. Chairman, very good question. I'm not sure what the timeline would look like. It'll be a judicial process. From my knowledge, I don't think this has ever occurred before. So again, I don't know exactly what it would look like. I think we would have to have, I think when we discussed this originally, we didn't take that approach because there wasn't a future meeting scheduled to compel the clerk to come to and testify again. So, we need to kind of work that out when that might occur. So I think a lot of questions there that we'd certainly look into if that is the direction of the committee.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Lean.
Might I move for a 5-minute recess to be able to have a conversation between the chair and LSO?
We'll recess for 5 minutes. All right, we'll come back into session. Senator Dockstader was correct. That took many more minutes. Secretary of State Gray, do you have any comments you'd like to make either on the report or testimony to date?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think just for ease of organization, I'll keep mine here to the report, and then I guess you're going to do the bills individually or after, right? Or do you want me to speak to the bills too? You haven't presented the bills yet, so I'll just speak to the report.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Chuck Gray. I'm the Wyoming Secretary of State. Joe Rubino couldn't make it today. We are very excited about his newborn that's on the way, and so he's on standby and in the office today. Obviously, our prayers are with the situation at the Capitol. I've been in touch with the Highway Patrol on the situation, and I know they're working on it and have been very professional, and have also been on the phone with our agency as well. First of all, I want to thank this committee, as well as the Weston County Subcommittee, for taking the time to dive deeper into this issue, which I do believe falls squarely within the charge of management audit pertaining to the conduct of the Weston County Clerk Becky Hadlock almost a year ago during and following the 2024 general election. Mr. Chairman, the Weston County Subcommittee, chaired by Representative Rodriguez-Williams, did a great job taking extensive testimony during their meeting on September 29th, especially pertaining to the facts surrounding the false post-election audit, which was submitted to our office, which was first raised at the state canvassing board meeting, and which was submitted to the governor's office during his review of the petition outlined in 18-3-902. Now, ultimately, as noted in the report, the governor did not proceed with the removal process with those initial complaints, and yesterday new complaints were filed. Now, on the report itself, I do want to note a couple things which were in the draft report. One is the notion at the bottom of page 1 and moving to the top of page 2 of the LSO report. I do want to clarify a few things, especially pushing back on the notion that the issue of the false post-election audit was not known until we issued our findings and conclusions on March 25th, 2025. And I think there's two places in the report where that is largely posited. One is at the top of page 2, where it says in that sentence, after the comma, but also included an additional allegation that Clerk Hadlock filed a false post-election audit with the Secretary of State's office. So there it says that our letter from March 10th had an additional allegation, particularly that word additional. And then in the last sentence, again, it says that I highlighted this additional allegation as an indication of a repeated and heightened level of misconduct. And then in the next paragraph, it alludes to it again. So I think there's 3 or 4 places where it says that this was an additional allegation. And I do really want to push back on that a little bit. I think certainly the governor's testimony that we've received that he didn't consider it in the complaint, and he's invited individuals if they wish to file a new complaint, and then he would consider it. But to call it an additional allegation, I just think goes too far the other direction. And I'm just going to read from a transcript. I had Mr. Rubino pull this from the state canvassing board meeting, which occurred on, I believe, the Wednesday after the election. So I believe it was the second week of November. And I'm just going to read this transcript. CJ Young, who is our election director presenting the audit findings from every county, said, lastly, in Weston County, Mr. Chairman, would you like to speak any more to the Weston County audit, Mr. Chairman? And so then it turned over to me because in state law, the Secretary of State chairs the state canvassing board meeting, and I wanted to comment on this and highlight it in November. So I said, turning to Weston County's initial post-election audit submitted by the Weston County Clerk on November 6, 2024, the audit reported no findings or observations. That was after we had multiple times indicated to the county clerk that we believed that there were issues with the results. We had located that anomaly and indicated that that post-election audit, because 21 of the 75 ballots that were evaluated did include ballots regarding House District 1 that were affected, that should have been caught by that eyeball examination of the cast vote record in the post-election audit. We then communicated to our office with her that we felt that her post-election audit had not been conducted properly. And on November 12th, a post-election audit was resubmitted indicating findings in accordance with the tabulation finalized at their county canvassing board. Director Young, ? And then Director Young says, thank you. So it begins at Mark 23 from the state canvassing board video, which is on our YouTube page. And so it was mentioned there. I also would highlight the signed complaint by the electors from Weston County, which says complainants seek removal of Weston County Clerk Becky Hadlock for misconduct and or malfeasance in office as evidenced by, but not limited to, her sustained and worrisome pattern of negligence, ... and then it lays out these other things. Now, not getting in their brain, but I think they have but not limited to, because the electors weren't privy to the false post-election audit, and so they were also acknowledging the fact that there was more to be considered as our investigation continued in late 2024 and early 2025, which culminated in our letter dated March 10th, which was over 2 months before he issued his findings. So certainly, I think it's very clear that he did not consider the false post-election audit. I think Ms. Anderson has made that very clear, and I think that is fine that they're going to consider that now. But I think feeding into sort of some of the false premises in that conclusion is something that I disagree with a little bit. And I think the use of the word additional allegation 3 or 4 times on page 2 feeds into that. And I think it could be worded in a way that that is more in line with what actually happened. That's my big point on the report. I really appreciate the work here. I think that there's been a lot of truth uncovered by this, and I think the work continues. That's what we're trying to get at, the truth, and thank you.
Questions or comments? Representative Rodriguez-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, there were additional questions that the committee had of the Secretary of State at the end of our subcommittee meeting. I'm not sure if now is the time for the Secretary to answer those, or if we want to hold off till later.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did pull those. I knew I had forgotten something, so I have them.
If you'd like to ask them now or answer them now, that's fine. I think Secretary Gray made a comment that this is ongoing work. And so if you want to ask those now, you can. If you want to ask those at a later meeting date, you can. Yes, Senator,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Gray, good to see you here today. Would you be specific? I kind of missed it when you were going over that on page 2, the specific language that you were talking about in the report. If you wouldn't mind saying that one more time, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I noted 4 locations with the additional. The first is on page 2, that first sentence there, which begins on page 1, the sentence. The basis for Secretary of State Gray's requests included the same allegations as those contained in the verified complaints made previously by qualified electors, but also included an additional allegation that Clerk Hadlock filed a false post-election audit with the Secretary of State's office. I think that's one place. The second is at the end of that paragraph. In his request for the removal of Clerk Hadlock, Secretary of State Gray highlighted this additional allegation as an indication of a repeated and heightened level of misconduct. And then in the following paragraph, in the second sentence, it says this additional allegation by the Secretary of State's office, though not a verified complaint by either a qualified elector of Weston County or the Weston County Board of Commissioners, served as one of 2 principal factors underlying the creation of the subcommittee. So that's 3 there. Oh, no, excuse me. Then there's the one in the middle of the paragraph at the top of page 1. This additional allegation by Secretary of State Gray further indicated that after a hand count by the Weston County Canvassing Board confirming significant vote counting errors in 2 races, the incorrect post-election audit remained unchanged. So yes, it is 4. And I just think that, in my opinion, it can be, rather than just accepting the governor's premises, which I think I think it's a little more complex than that. I think that it should just say that, in my opinion, that we focused on the post-election audit. We emphasized that rather than saying it was an additional allegation, which I think is feeding into his arguments that I would push back on. I certainly think they've committed that they are going to view these complaints separately, and I want to be clear on that we're not saying that they've considered it. They've said they didn't consider it, but to say that it was an additional allegation, I think is not quite keeping with the timeline. And I did phone a friend. The State Canvassing Board was on November 13th, 2024. So it was 7 days after the election. And, you know, the other thing I would note too is the electors that signed the complaint were at the State Canvassing Board. So they were privy to that mark on minute 23 when we talked about the false post-election audit, as the governor was. He was sitting right to my left. And so I think that that's important to note. And then you look at the complaint and it says, but not limited to. I think that that's important to give the full situation on what they were thinking when they submitted and when they were considering the clerk's conduct. You know, and what I don't want to feed into is just the excuse making that we hear a lot, I'm afraid, from the governor's office to not consider the issue at hand. And I think we need to be precise here, because there are a lot of claims getting thrown around, and I don't think on page 2 it's quite there on the sequencing of events.
Other questions from the committee? All right, thanks, Secretary.
Thank you.
All right, is there any public comment from inside the room on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, Joey Carenti, I'm a member of the Canvassing Board in Carbon County, and I'll stick to just looking at the report. I did testify online, and one of the things I brought up might be a valid amendment to the report. On page 1, where the full 4 bullet points are, the 3rd bullet point states using incorrect ballots in the general election. And then again on page 5, under subcommittee conclusions, the first sentence ends in 2 invalid versions of the same ballot. And there may be other places throughout the report, but we're using different language to describe these ballots: incorrect, invalid, and they may be missing the statutory recognition they deserve. In 22-6-103, the heading there is official ballots, and it specifically states only official ballots shall be cast in any election. So I would ask the committee to entertain amending the report that anytime invalid, improper, multiple types of ballots are referenced, that the term official ballots is used, so that we have continuity of language throughout and a statutory reference to what that means.
All right, any others?
Those are the only 2 instances, and I will wait for the bills to come up to speak on the bills unless there's questions.
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Carente, could there be more versions of more than one version of official ballots? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ide, depending on how close you want to get? Yes. You can have a precinct ballot that has multiple splits, so you have multiple versions of the same precinct ballot, but it's actually marked on the top. It's 11-1, 03, 04, depending on your special districts, your school districts. But as far as a ballot you would get for this precinct, this split, this version of the ballot, the only other versions I could think of would be the express vote version that comes out of the ADA compliant machine, which I'm definitely not advocating for, or the major political party versus nonpartisan ballot. So you could technically have them, but if we're talking about a single precinct, a single race, and now identified 3 separate versions of the same ballot type, ballot split, I don't believe you can call any of them official, or at least 2 of them couldn't be official because one of them would be the correct ballot, whether it was identified properly, read properly by the machine or not.
Vice Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So are you suggesting that the word may be unofficial?
Yes, unofficial ballots, because statutes specifically reference what an official ballot is. I would propose the language unofficial ballot for any instance where the legitimacy of a ballot type is suggested. Just for, again, accuracy and continuity of the report and the statutory reference in which it provides.
Follow up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We were on a side conversation, and we had some comments maybe that some ballots maybe shouldn't have been recounted because they were unofficial. It's, you were stating something like that.
As a member, and I testified to this at the subcommittee meeting, as a member, sorry, Mr. Chairman, Senator Larson, I am a member of the Carbon County Canvassing Board, and I stated clearly I would not have certified that election because even with a hand count, I could identify voter intent, but I would have been counting unofficial ballots as per statute. And at that point, another conversation or maybe a memorandum that everybody signed would have to be, we have decided to do this, count these because we can identify the voter intent, consensus of voter intent, same way if we have to recreate a ballot. If the machine tears one when we're counting absentee ballots early, we all get together, we pull the copy of that ballot blank, we spoil this ballot after we get the consensus, we transfer the vote. So there would have to be something else. Either call for conducting that election again with only official ballots, or something that recognizes the statute that says only official ballots can be counted. It is the decision of this canvassing board. I would probably say, with having informed and getting recommendations from the Secretary of State that we're going to count these, yes, it presents a bigger problem. I would not have certified even the hand count of that election personally.
Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Follow up on that. Is the county clerk, would he or she be the sole arbiter of what an official ballot is for that precinct? Thank you.
Mr. Correnti.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ide, in statute, it lays out formatting, printing, all the steps before, yes, absolutely. Once they post the sample ballot, which is also required by statute, publicly posted and probably on their website, I believe there's a 72-hour period, especially for candidates, to say, wait a minute, you got my name wrong, or there's some issue. Those sample ballots have to stay posted, physically posted, in the clerk's office for inspection by the public. So if there's any other ballot, other than the ones that are posted as sample, that follow all of the requirements of statute in production, shipping, security, then it's not another official ballot. And after the public has had its opportunity to say, no, these are good, they send it off to the printer, and yeah, again, it's on the clerk. On the back end of that, once those ballots come back in, the county canvass, certifying of the election results, and the audit, if the canvassing board's involved, still ultimately the responsibility of the clerk, but I think there's culpability on anybody who signs off on those reports. If you're someone that says, well, I asked and the clerk told me, okay, well, you also just signed your name to a legal document certifying an election, and I don't know that we want the people who just take someone's word for it being the people certifying our elections. So there could be, in the production of the ballots, probably 99% of the time it is 100% the clerk, unless somebody says something in that 3-day period.
Follow up? Any other questions? All right, thank you. And I want to be clear that the public comment I'm taking right now is on the post-election audit report consideration. That's it. So any other comments within the room? Online?
Mr. Chairman, I have Ms. Anderson prepared.
Okay, Ms. Anderson?
Mr.
Hello, welcome.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, my name is Betsy Anderson, and I am the Deputy Chief of Staff and General Counsel for Governor Gordon. I'm a little discombobulated because I was smart enough to think to grab my computer, but not smart enough to think to grab my charger. So I'm on my own computer. But I just wanted to, I think, address two things. Number one, I can confirm that we did receive complaints yesterday from qualified electors of Weston County on the two matters you have been talking about today, well, the post-election audit and her failure to respond to peer because of the subpoena. We will take those and we will start a new review from the beginning and probably use a very similar process that we did when we reviewed the prior complaints. So I just wanted to let you know that we do have those and we'll be moving forward on that.
Ms. Anderson, can you confirm how many complaints did you receive?
Mr. Chairman, the governor's office received 4 complaints.
4, okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will say that the actual listing of complaints was the same on all 4 complaints. So, and then, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to respond a little bit to the secretary and that he very much wanted the governor to consider his concern about the post-election audit. I want to make clear that we very much were following the law, and the law says that a qualified elector or county commissioners can bring a complaint. And the secretary does not fall into either of those categories. And I understand he really serves as the chief election officer of this state, and he does deserve deference. But the concern is if you start allowing others to complain, it just puts the barn doors open. And now anybody and everybody who's not listed in the statute could bring forward a complaint. And so we have to be cognizant of that and make sure that we're following the law. I don't want to get ahead of things, but I do know you have a draft bill I think would help alleviate that situation. And I think that sounds like a great idea. So, but I did want to make clear that we had to be careful about the precedent that would set if we were to consider complaints that really aren't under statute, ones that the governor is supposed to consider in this process.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for joining us today, Ms. Anderson. Do you have an approximate time frame in which that review might take place?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lean, haven't had that conversation with anybody in the office. I mean, I really can only tell you my personal preference. I will say we've done this before, so I don't think it'll take nearly as much time. We've done a lot of the research, the legal research, because we did this internally. We did not work with the Attorney General's office. So we have that in place. So I think that I would hope, and I would think it will go quicker than the other one. On the flip side, I will say we are handling another complaint in a different county right now. So we have to, you know, there's a staff of me and the special counsel that aid the governor on this. So we don't have a really large staff, but If I had my druthers, it'd all be done by the end of the year, if not by Thanksgiving. It'd be my personal preference, but I can't promise anything.
Thank you.
Follow up? Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any others online?
Mr. Chairman, no, that's everybody for the report.
All right. I'm actually going to leave that open for public comment because I have a question of Madam Chair of the subcommittee. What is your preference on the report? Is it complete and offered up for approval, or would you like additional time and information?
Mr. Chairman, with the approval of this committee, I would offer or accept additional time. Looks like there are some potential corrections that the committee might consider, and then potential further attempts at testimony as well, so.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move that the subcommittee take one additional day via Wyoming Statute 28-1-112 and ask for the good chairman, if he's willing, to order a court appearance for Clerk Hadlock to appear before the subcommittee so that we may finalize our report with some process questions.
Is there a second? Okay. My answer is yes, I would allow that to happen. I don't know that we need a formal vote on that, do we? We just wait for the report to come? Or that additional day needs to be voted on?
I think you could direct that as the chairman, Mr. Chairman, but if you want to take a vote on it,
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a formal vote on that.
do that too. Yeah.
Any discussion? You want to clarify it?
Mr. Chairman, if the bringer of the motion could just clarify if it's for the committee at large or for the subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, for the subcommittee.
All right. So the vote is for the subcommittee to have that additional day to make additional corrections and possibly have extra testimony. All those well, let's just poll the board.
Senator Dockstader. Senator Ide. Senator McEwen excused. Senator Olson. Senator Rothfuss excused. Representative Lean.
Aye.
Representative Locke. Representative Rodriguez Williams.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Vice Chairman Larson.
Aye.
Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes and 2 excused.
All right. So that passes, and I will have you just arrange that with staff to have that done. Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm good with the subcommittee, but I don't know, there may be other people on the committee that would like to attend that, or how, I think probably the more eyes and ears that we have on the testimony is maybe good for everybody. I don't know, it's a little late for that. We've already passed the motion, but is there any discussion on that? That's just a thought that's going through my head. Thanks.
Yes, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the sentiments of the good senator. It brings up an interesting point because we do have a new member to the committee. And I know that the subcommittee was appointed by you, Mr. Chairman, but nice courtesy of Senator Ide.
Yeah, I would say that any member that wants to attend can, either in person or by Zoom, so. That's just up to everybody voluntarily. Yes, Senator Ide.
If that was the case, thank you, Mr. Chairman, would there be any voting going on during that subcommittee? Just out of curiosity, yeah.
If, and I'm going to speak, I guess, with Madam Chair's approval, but if we're asking for the day for that subcommittee to meet, I think the vote will be with the subcommittee only at that point.
Those that might want to be involved, I guess.
Yeah, is there anybody that wants to attend that as well? You know, I'll be there. So,
You'll be there, did you say?
We don't know yet.
and that basically will be hopefully to take more testimony and public comment, so. All right. For the bill considerations, my question to the committee is, do we want to deal with these going forward from this committee, or do we want to advise these for any other committee to take on?
Mr. Chairman,
Representative Lee?
Mr. Chairman, do we want to wait until the subcommittee
We may want to.
back a report?
Just those may be revised or.
Correct. Yeah.
Or amended. So good point, Senator. Thank you. I think that's a good idea, is we'll wait for those bills after the subcommittee meets to ensure that that's the way that they would be read in. So, yes, Senator Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this report, the subcommittee report that we have here, and we had the suggestions from Secretary Gray on those 4 spots in this to potentially revise the report and not reference them, if I'm understanding it right, and I think I am, additional allegations to get that wording a little more consistent with what is actually going on. Yeah.
Yes, and I think I'd leave that to the subcommittee in their final report to us to either add those or not, so. Mr. Secretary, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I think that is important to clarify that. Again, what I was speaking to, and I think is important in understanding Ms. Anderson's comments, what I was speaking to was that the idea that this was an additional allegation on page 2, and I think she even acknowledges that in a way by saying that, well, it just wasn't in the complaint, which is another argument they've given. And again, I think I sort of addressed that by saying that it said, but not limited to the things listed in the complaint. And I don't think their comment really responds to that, but I think making it clear that it's not necessarily an additional allegation. Maybe they think it's an additional allegation, but I think, looking at Mark 23 minutes in to the state canvassing board meeting on November 13th and our letter, I think there's a more artful way that maybe that could be phrased, but yeah, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'm worried that if we don't bring forward these bills that we won't have time. So is it your intention that we're going to ask for another day for this committee before session?
That's a good question. It is my intent to meet maybe a couple times during session as we're a standing committee. Whether we'll be able to bring those bills or actually have to refer those to another committee at that time if we're not done before interim. I would ask the advice of some of our senior senators.
Who are you calling old? I think there's time, but I'm happy to consult with staff, so.
So, Mr. Chairman, one consideration is, this is a budget session, so the bill cutoff date will be within that first week, I think. I can't remember exactly. So if you were trying to meet at the beginning of session, it would need to be within the first couple of days of session, probably, which may actually be a decent time to meet, as that is some of the less busy days are some of those first couple days of session. So that could be a possibility, but that would just be something you would need to consider, that bill cutoff deadline.
Because I do agree with Senator Dockstetter's earlier comment that let's let the subcommittee finalize, and then we'll bring these bills forward.
Chairman, it could be that they'll come back with something, an actual testimony and something that gives us some direction.
Correct. Is that all right with the committee? Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I'm wondering if we want to discuss the bills. They're very straightforward, which I appreciate. I love a short little bill that's easy to understand. The option is we could work them and move them through, right? We have time. We've all done our homework. My concern is, again, budget session, that we won't have time. And then they get lost, and then it's another year before it gets addressed.
Representative, are you on some other committee that
I'm working on duplicating myself.
All right, well, it's up to, yes, Representative Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will state it a little firmer, which is I think we should vote them and move them forward, because these things could be, I think the waiting, it doesn't do us any good. If the subcommittee finds additional information, we can work the bills as they're moving through the system. But I think to wait is the wrong answer. I think these bills are clear. I think we can make decisions here today. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
Could we hear from the subcommittee on this?
Sure. What, Representative Rodriguez-Williams, what is your pleasure in these bills?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I was responding to an email. I'm fine with presenting these. They're all pretty brief. I'm not sure what kind of public comment we have lined up on them for your consideration, but I think LSO could walk through these pretty quick.
If that's the pleasure of the subcommittee, we do have it listed as an agenda item today with public comment. Shall we go ahead and hear the bills? Mr. Anderson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Josh Anderson also. First bill, these 4 bills came out of the discussions of the subcommittee. The first one, Mr. Chairman, a very straightforward bill, 26 LSO 248. This is a failure to appear to a subpoena. And basically all this bill does is change the fine from $100 to $750. That makes it consistent with other misdemeanor offenses, including 65306, which is failure to appear in response to a subpoena or citation. So that's that bill, Mr. Chairman. I take any questions.
Questions from the committee? No? Okay. Any public comment on that particular bill? 26 LSO-0248, legislative subpoena penalty.
Mr. Chairman, Joey Careni, I'm a member of the Carbon County Canvassing Board. Real quick, good little bill here. I like it. The $750 I think is totally appropriate, but I maybe want to get a consensus on the record of the committee that the intent is that the individual charged is paying this and it's not coming out of a bond, the office budget, the county that employs them, or anything but the pocket of the individual. I don't think that needs to be added in, but to have it on the record that that is the intent would make me a lot more comfortable for future discussions. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Mr. Anderson, is that the intent of that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think a fine would be paid out of the person's own pocket and not out of the budget of any entity they.
Okay. Any other public comment? Secretary of State?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support the bill. Thank you.
I think that's the shortest public comment I've ever heard you make. All right, is there anybody online?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on amendments? No? All right. Please pull the board, or the committee, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for Bill Draft 26, LSO-0248, Legislative Subpoena Penalty. Senator Dockstetter. Senator Ide.
Aye.
Senator McEwen excused. Senator Olson. Senator Rothfuss excused. Representative Lean.
Aye.
Representative Locke.
Aye.
Representative Rodriguez-Williams. Aye. Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Larson.
I'm an aye. I just want to make sure, when you read that number, I think the numbers weren't quite right, so it's 248.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes and 2 excused.
All right, that bill draft moves forward. Next one is the falsifying election documents. Mr. Anderson?
Sir, Mr. Chairman, so next bill, 26 LSO 249, working draft 0.2. This bill goes into the offense of falsifying election documents and just adds to the list of things that would consist of that offense would include submitting a false post-election ballot audit to the Secretary of State under 22-6-130. So that's that bill, Mr. Chairman. I take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Anderson? All right. Public comment on bill draft consideration 26 LSO-0249, falsifying election documents. Secretary of State?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm very supportive of this bill and what this bill is trying to do. I do want to be very clear here that I believe falsifying a post-election audit is already a felony. And I think there are 2 places in state statute where that is addressed currently. First, 6-5-308 in Title VI, which makes it a felony to file with the Secretary of State and willfully or knowingly, Romanet I, falsifies, conceals, or covers up by any trick, scheme, or device of material fact. Romanet II makes any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or representation, or Romanet III makes or uses any false writing or document knowing the same to contain any materially false, fictitious, or fraudulent statement or entry. So that's in Title VI. I also think in Title 22, that it is there in 22-26-119, which says violation of the election code by an official consists of the willful violation of the election code by any official or by any deputy or assistant official, or the willful failure or refusal of any official or assistant to perform an act or duty required of him by the election code. And then when you get into 22-11-109, it says the county clerk shall conduct a random audit, ... So if the clerk knowingly falsifies, again, that's hypothetical, not necessarily applying it to the situation. If the county clerk were to knowingly falsify or not conduct the audit at all, which, we laid out those two possibilities in our investigation, I think it would be in violation of 22-26-119. So I think you get it in Title VI in the broad Secretary of State's authority and also in Title 22. I am fine with making it more explicit, and I would even say I'm supportive of it. The one thing I want to be very clear, if the committee does this, is I want to be very clear that it is currently a felony in not only the election code, but in Title VI, in my opinion. And certainly would invite any opinions of the committee on this. I think it's always good to get more clarity in the books. Obviously, I know drafters like to keep the books somewhat on the shorter end, so that's why maybe it's done in more of a broad way, like it is done in 22-26-119 and also in Title VI. But if because of this situation, we want to pinpoint the specific document, I think that is not only fine, I think it's great, and obviously something I support. I just don't want bad actors out there to use this to begin claiming in the media and everywhere that it's not currently an issue or a felony, which I would very, very strongly disagree with. So I just want to be clear on that in my comments, but certainly supportive of the bill and what you're trying to do here, but I think we do get at it in Title VI and then also in 22-26-119. But very supportive.
Any questions? Yes, Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary, for being with us.
Yes.
Just so that we have it documented for the public who might be hearing, what is the process to submit a correction? So somebody's like, oh my God, there's a typo. That's not what I meant for that to say. Can you just walk us through what that looks like? Thank you.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Sherwood, we certainly receive corrections, but the correction that the clerk conducted occurred at our invitation after the canvassing board found that there were errors, and after we had already twice before she submitted the false post-election audit told her that we suspected that the results were in error, and she pushed back on that. So certainly amendments / corrections can be received. If you want to look at that statute and lay out a more formal procedure, that's fine. But I think in conducting that mens rea analysis on whether that correction / amendment, the original filing was fraudulent or not, is one of the fact patterns that prosecutorial authorities need to engage in, and I think that's what they're engaging in right now in the Weston County case.
Follow up? Mr. Secretary.
So in other words, excuse me, I apologize, Mr. Is it okay if I have one more thing?
Yes.
Just submitting a quote-unquote correction, quote-unquote amendment doesn't mean that the original one is totally legit and everything's fine. I mean, the circumstances need to be considered, and what were the circumstances around the original filing?
Okay, I can't believe I'm going to ask this because I hate the word. Yes. In Title VI and Title 22, do those both include the word knowingly?
Well, in 22-26-119, which is sort of the blanket violation of election code by officials, it says willful. And obviously we got some attorneys here that can maybe delve into the difference between willful and knowingly in that area of law. And then in Title VI, it says willfully or knowingly. Makes it a felony to file, quote, with the Secretary of State and willfully or knowingly.
And the only reason I asked that was to follow up with Representative Sherwood's question. that would negate that basically accidental uncorrection excuse, but.
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I do think prosecutors would consider that, mens rea analysis and the intent issue, which is, I think, what we're all trying to get at is what was the intent? And I think that's what you're getting at, the truth in your testimony on the Weston County situation. In Title VI, it says willfully or knowingly. Title 22, it says willfully, doesn't have the knowingly. I just want to be very clear that I think this is there. Now, if we want to pinpoint this document in falsifying documents section, or falsifying an election record as one of the election records, that's fine. But I want to be very clear that I believe it is already there in two places, not only in the election code, but in Title VI.
All right, any other comments? Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Secretary. So if it's totally clear right now in two statutes, are we muddying the water with this separate bill? I mean, you hate to get too many of them fighting with each other on different statutes. So that's just a thought. What's your opinion on that?
Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, I understand the argument there. I think that delves into you as legislators, your approach on how long the Green Book should be, because you could point out every single election document in that falsifying documents section. I think what they were trying to do in 22-26-119 is have a blanket authority for these extreme cases, like I would argue we had in the Weston County case. But I understand that things happen, and this is why oftentimes the code does amortize specific situations, because things happen and the legislature wants to further lay those out, but I think it's there. And so certainly support the bill, but appreciate the question and some of the things we need to consider. I'd be curious on the attorneys too, some of their thoughts on it. Because I think it gets into this question. I had it when I was a legislator. I mean, what's our approach to the Green Books? I mean, how specific should we be, or should we go towards these blanket penalties? It's an interesting philosophical question. And then if you pinpoint one, are we pinpointing it just because of this one situation? Because I could give you a ton others that maybe we should do a blanket falsifying election document bill, and we could do that at that next meeting, and I could give you some more. I am a little concerned on just pinpointing one. While I support the bill and the concept, I think there are all sorts of election documents that we don't want there to be any notion that this one is called out and the other ones aren't, and aren't subject now to the blanket authority in 22-26-119. Thanks.
All the attorneys in the room, please raise your hands. Do you guys have a comment on this, Josh or Jared?
So, Mr. Chairman, I would agree with the Secretary that I think that a willfully falsified audit would be a felony under the current law. Now, to the extent a prosecutor may want some more specific language, and maybe this would give them that to say this document is specifically called out. But then again, as the Secretary notes, that may leave some other ones. And so I think there are some valid considerations of the committee. And then the difference between knowingly and willfully. Willfully is generally a little higher standard than just knowingly, kind of an intent to violate. And that is in this falsifying documents is with the intent to deceive or mislead. So that would be a similar standard, I think, to willfully.
Willingly. Senator Olson, do you have any comment?
Mr. Chairman, my first comment is Josh gets paid to answer these questions. I don't. So I take offense in that. No, I would agree with Mr. Anderson's analysis. But willfulness and knowingly are both intent, but willful is generally considered a higher intent. It's a deliberate, did something on purpose. Knowingly is you had knowledge of the actions that were occurring or the facts. I mean, they're just their plain language, but willful is generally a higher standard. I do think they're in, I guess they're in conflict between this proposed statute and the existing 22-26-119. So I would say maybe keep them consistent so the elements are consistent. But beyond that, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you have an additional crime. That might be, well, actually now I'll back up on my analysis. Actually, I guess if you left the elements different, you could charge both, under both probably. So it would be advantageous to have different elements under the proposed law, Josh, right? So.
That's true. If we had 3 different words in 3 different places, knowingly, willingly, and intent, covers our bases. All right, any other comments? Things are now just slipping out of my mind. So. All right, is there any other public comment from? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joey Careni, Carbon County Canvassing Board. I'm going to try to give our senior senator from Laramie County a break on some of the legalese, but that's what we called you earlier, right, senior senator? I'm going to agree, but expand a little farther than my good friend the secretary did. I do believe this deserves its own functional place in the Green Books, and some of you know I'm very protective of expanding content in the Green Books, but because not always is the post-election audit a function of every other part of the election. I, in Carbon County, as a member of the Canvassing Board, do conduct this audit as part of our canvass. There's no statutory requirement for that. There's certain things we do as a canvassing board that you don't necessarily have to do to conduct a post-election audit. So I think this deserves its own place, its own language, its own consideration. Maybe some of the wording can become a little more similar, or different enough to be charged as 2 separate, but similar enough to where it's not impeding the prosecution. But in the statute mentioned by the secretary, 22, I believe it's 6-119, it doesn't say clerks, it says officials. And many times throughout the election process, individuals will swear an oath and become an election official, whether it's a judge, the early absentee processing team, all these different places. I believe even in Carbon County, we at least make them sign an affidavit of understanding if they're going to be an observer in certain situations, like the early absentee processing, so they know you can't have electronics in this room or on this side. The observers for the post-election audit, you can observe our processes, but you can't see the screens. You're not allowed to see the scans or the CRV data. But there's different levels of officials, and one of those is the canvassing board. So if you're conducting the audit, I believe you would have to be a sworn official. This should apply criminally, not only in Title VI, but also in Title 22. And not to get off onto another bill, but we may want to look into what the post-election audit team consists of and their duties are. Statutorily, the canvassing board is required to take and submit detailed minutes of all of our actions. I don't think that's a requirement of the post-audit election team. So that would be another document that would prove step A, step B, step C, signed by all these people. Because we're talking about signing and certifying with multiple officials that aren't the clerk, I would propose an amendment on page 2, line 5, inserting the words signing, comma, certifying, or before the word submitting. So it's not just the clerk who submits that report. It's anybody who signs that report or certifies that post-election audit and says, we did it this way, and this is what it is. Any of those individuals should be equally accountable for the, aiding and abetting if this is going to be a proposed crime, because it's those signatures that are required prior to submission to the Secretary of State. So hopefully the committee would consider contemplating that amendment at least, and I will stand for any questions.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Boy, that sends up a big red flag that will you find anybody to do this? Are they already reluctant?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Senator Larson, I'd say for the canvassing board, wouldn't be that difficult. It's one day's work if the election's been run correctly, even in the bigger counties. I don't know. We're already having trouble finding election judges, especially now that we're also doing poll watchers, which I'm very much in favor of, and I don't mind working harder to find election judges since we have a statutory authority to now have poll watchers. We're also talking about dipping into the volunteer pool for potentially hand counting. So yeah, it's a civic duty and it may be more difficult. But as far as not being able to have anybody to come and do these functions, even the proposed bill that we're going to talk about next includes if someone can't be found, the clerk can find a person of the correct demographic, maybe from their staff, appoint them for the day to get the work done. But I would always hope that we had volunteers who are willing to be knowledgeable, not just the guy that'll sign what the clerk says to sign. And if Wyoming elections and election integrity are truly as important as we all know they are and have been fighting for a couple of years, I don't think we're going to have that much problem finding people for post-election audit or canvassing boards.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. Do we have anybody else to speak on this, either in the room or online?
Mr. Chairman, we do not have any Zoom participation for this bill draft.
All right, thank you. Pleasure of the committee. I'll close public testimony on that, by the way. Moved, is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded for bill draft consideration. 26 LSO-0249. Discussion. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think after hearing the testimony, I was a little bit indifferent about it just by stacking more statutes on saying effectively the same thing. But I think pinpointing this is maybe a good thing so we can go directly and not wonder whether it fits into another statute or not. So I kind of like it just the way the language is written right now. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Any amendments? Hearing none, please poll the committee.
This is a roll call vote for bill draft 26 LSO-0249, falsifying election documents. Senator Dockstader. Senator Ide.
Aye.
Senator McEwen excused. Senator Olson.
Aye.
Senator Rothfuss excused. Representative Lean.
Aye.
Representative Locke.
Aye.
Representative Rodriguez-Williams. Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Larson.
Aye.
Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes and 2 excused.
All right, that bill draft carries. Next up is 26 LSO-0250, post-election audit procedures. Mr. Anderson.
So, yeah, Mr. Chairman, this next bill, 26 LSO 250, working draft 0.4. This goes into the post-election ballot audit, adds a new subsection C, which specifies that the county clerk shall notify the county chairman of each political party having a candidate on the ballot and all independent candidates of the time and place of the audit required under the section. Then it specifies that not less than 2 electors in the county who shall be representatives of different political parties shall be present during the audit to observe the audit procedures and the results of the audit. Additional political party representatives and representatives of independent candidates may be present while the audit is conducted. If an insufficient number of representatives are available as required, the county clerk may appoint 1 or more representatives of different political parties as necessary to meet the observation requirements of the subsection. And then representatives observing the audit shall be given the opportunity to register any observed errors or other objections to the audit with the county clerk, and the county clerk shall provide those registered statements and any response to the statements to the Secretary of State at the time the audit results are submitted under subsection B of this section. So that's the bill, Mr. Chairman. I take any questions.
Any questions from the members here, committee members? Thank you. Any testimony from the agencies? Mr. Secretary.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think this bill draft, I stand in support for it. It's definitely a step in the right direction towards transparency in the audit process. I think requiring notification to the county chairman of the two major political parties, as well as political party representation and a procedure for objection to the audit, presents a scheme which is, a layout which is somewhat similar to the county canvas, and I think that's a good thing. I do think that allowing observed errors or other objections to also be filed with the state might be a good thing. Obviously, people come and go, not only into this office, but in the county clerk's offices. Some citizens are more comfortable with the Secretary of State at the time. Some citizens are more comfortable with the county clerks. I think it might be good to have a check. I was going to request on line 18, adding or the Secretary of State after county clerk, but I don't know, might make the next clause a little bit more, it might need to be clarified a little bit, because then if I get one of the complaints, how does the clerk respond to that? You could probably put that in there, but I think there should be some ability for people to submit it with our office as well, if they feel that it's either not going to be handled, if they just want another way to get it to the election authorities. So that would be my one ask. I think you could add or the Secretary of State after county clerk on line 18, and it would still make some sense. You would probably want to put something though after and the county clerk, any response to the statements that are either submitted to the county clerk or the Secretary of State, something like that. Or maybe just do another sentence, but it'd be my one suggestion. I support this bill. Thank you.
Any questions for the Secretary? Don't see any. Oh, here we do. I guess we have a question. We may need you back up here. Representative Lean.
Thank you, Secretary of State, for coming back. I appreciate it. My question is, what kind of training would go into this, and how would individuals know what to look for just by putting together this board to look at?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we would continue to conduct trainings and have meetings with the county clerks. I do think, it's been interesting in the last few weeks to watch some individuals that maybe want to put out a certain narrative on the Weston County situation, saying that, well, there wasn't enough training. And in order to receive training, you have to be willing to receive training. And one of the things the Weston County clerk did in 2023, I was actually pulling up the email here today, is she refused to meet with me on a topic that we had brought to our attention. It's all in this email here from 2023. It had to do with this precinct map that we wanted to sort of help her with in terms of post on their website a more specific precinct map. And, here's the email from October 3rd, 2023. Thank you, Sarah, who was my assistant at the time. But as of right now, I will work on these with the assessor. And if Secretary Gray has anything he would like me to work on with her, he can send us a letter. Have a great day. And that was after we requested a meeting. When you have this culture of not meeting or not being responsive on these things, it's very difficult to do trainings. But we did send out the full post-election audit rules and procedures to the county clerks. And we've laid that out in our exhibits in a number of situations on this investigation. And those were discussed with the County Clerks Association. So we continue to alert them and send them letters and memos on all of these issues. You know, I'd have to ask our election director currently, Paul Raines, how many we sent out, but it was a lot during the 24 cycle.
Additional questions? All right, thank you. We'll take any members of the public.
Mr. Chairman, Joey Carretti, Carbon County Canvassing Board. I guess I'm going to ask for first direction from the chairman. The statute that we're working under only has the language proposed for Section C. Would it be inappropriate for me to propose an amendment to existing language in Section B, which isn't printed here, but is referenced in Section C?
I think that's appropriate.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In Section B, I will read it to you, of the statute mentioned here, 22-6-130 says, each county clerk shall conduct an audit of the election using the statistically significant ballot size, sample size, and the corresponding ballots for each of the contests selected for the audit determined under Section A of this section. Each county clerk shall provide an audit of the results to the Secretary of State. I would propose in Section B, at the end of that first long sentence, that county clerk shall conduct an audit of the election using the statistically blah, 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 and cause minutes to be made, as I stated in my last, so that even if the county canvassing board isn't conducting the audit, minutes of the action of the post-election audit are made. And then in the following sentence, each county clerk shall provide the audit results to the Secretary of State. I would insert the language, the audit results and minutes of the post-election audit. So that being my first suggestion, that just causes another document in more detail of what did happen, and those officials that I mentioned in my last testimony to have to sign off on those, saying, yes, this is exactly what happened, this is what we did, and I was involved in it. And that is language that is directly taken from the county canvassing board language in statute. Additionally, on the packet we have in front of us for Section C, page 2, line 4, the second sentence, so line 4 starts with required under this section, period. I would propose adding the words of public notice and posting not less than 2, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot here. Oh, all independent candidates at the time and place of the audit, that's line 3, required under this section, so that we would also have a public noticing requirement, because now we're saying we're going to inform the party chairman of the parties and any independent candidates, but not the public. So that consideration. Also on line 7, to observe the audit procedures and results. That's inviting those individuals that are named. I think we should also include the public. So not just the representatives of the political parties to be present, but the public should be allowed to be present. And then on line 8, additional party representatives, I would add a comma after representatives, strike the word and. So it would read additional political party representatives, comma, representatives, independent candidates, comma, and then add the language and members of the general public. And what this does is say, not just people that are involved in campaigns or political parties, but this process is open for observation by the public. This is something we do in Carbon County. I don't know that it's required or restricted by law. I just know that anytime we have a process, whether it's accuracy and logic testing, there's a place for the public to be or even participate if they want to sign an oath and become an official. When we do any of our training, if you're an election judge, you get the training, you get paid, but if you just want to see it, you're allowed to be there for that training. People are allowed to observe our pre-audit or early absentee voting processing. There are restrictions, but the only restriction that I think might need to be advertised more if we add this language is when they observe the post-election audit, they can only observe the procedures as it's stated here. They cannot observe the actual ballot scans or the CRV reports until we get a updated opinion from the Secretary of State. But I think all of those Section C where we're including the public, or at least recognizing clerks are allowed to invite the public. I don't know if we have to make them, but that should be something that anybody who is a member of the electorate or a constituent who may be affected should be able to observe those processes. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? Yes, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That public notice, would that be required to be in a local newspaper, or, I mean, the time, the timeline on that would be pretty difficult and, expensive, I guess, for some of these smaller counties. Thank you. You have an opinion on that?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ide, personally, I'm not a fan of subsidizing newspapers with taxpayer dollars. I don't think any of our notices need to go out through the newspaper. I think there are plenty of there's plenty of different platforms that the county and the county clerk's office already has access to: social media, their own website, any of the other postings they have to do by statute. They can include this, including the proclamation. The proclamation of an election should also include the timeline of activities throughout the election. They have to, by statute, notice in some way, shape, or form their logic and accuracy testing. I know that a lot of counties allow you to sign up for an email list or even an app that texts you and says, this is what's happening with your county clerk. This is the next thing we're doing. This is when we're doing it. So just some kind of notice. I wouldn't want to put in the standard language of utilizing the newspapers because of the additional cost and the unnecessary. I don't even know if they have the reach to be effective anymore, honestly. But maybe look at some of the language in the more recent bills with noticing, allowing electronic noticing with the intent of the greatest reach. We've already started to have some of that language come up in statute. So best efforts, that's all I can say. Utilization of social media and their websites probably the best first start.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Dockstader.
Now we're getting vague, and we're leaving it just gray. Maybe they'll get it to the public, maybe they won't. I'll oppose the amendments.
Any other comments? Secretary of State Gray, do you have any comments on those amendments? All right. Any other public comments, either online or in the room?
Mr. Chairman, we have Ms. Langford online.
Ms. Langford, how are you doing?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you and to the committee. My name is Mary Langford, and I have the honor of representing the county clerks of the state of Wyoming. The clerks statewide are meeting with their commissioners today, so that's why you get me. First of all, on behalf of the county clerks, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to participate today. I got some special privilege, and I appreciate that a lot. And thank you to the subcommittee for listening to the county clerks. Your work shows that you're addressing their concerns. Pertaining to the 250 bill, we have one suggestion: that the participants in this post-election audit should be required to sign an oath, the same oath required of all election officials, being election judges, the county board members, and as prescribed by Wyoming Statute 22-8-115. We take it seriously that every voter should be able to cast a secret ballot, which we believe is the intent of Article 6, Section 11 of the Wyoming Constitution. With this oath in place, all ballots are guaranteed to be secret and the election is secure. And with that, thank you again for this opportunity. That's my brief statement on this particular bill, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee to Ms. Langford? Yes, Vice Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there a specific line where you think that could be put?
You know, Mr. Chairman, Representative Larson, probably towards the end of the section where it talks about who the observers are and the people that are going to be involved in participating in that. I know there's talk about the public. I don't know if you made this public meeting, you wouldn't want everybody to be a election official for that, but the particular people that I should have planned better. Sorry. And I don't know if it would need to be just another section. It could, that would be up to your attorneys.
Josh, do you have a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, at first take at this, I might do on page 2, line 10, after conducted, I think I would add there a sentence saying that anyone observing the audit shall take the oath as required under 22.8.115.
Ms. Langford, is that a good spot for that?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with that because the first 10 lines basically line out who are the people that are going to be participating. And then you could designate that they needed to have an oath. So I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Senator Dockstetter.
that amendment for the clerks?
Say, is there a second?
Haven't moved the bill yet, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, we'll wait for that, I guess.
Reserve, thank you.
All right. Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment. What committee, what's your pleasure? Bill's been moved, second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Are there any amendments?
Mr. Chairman, the amendment we just discussed on behalf of the clerks.
All right, everybody tracking that, page 2, line 10? Second on the amendment? All right, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Amendment carries. We can do that. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I would like to move by the amendment that was brought by Mr. Corrente, not the one on the public notice, but the one on section B. I don't understand enough about the way it's written right now, but it sounds like a good amendment to me right now, where at least we get it on the record with minutes on certifying that election and who all was involved, and at least it gives a little more clarity on just a phone call that it's approved.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Josh, do you know where that tracks in?
Yes,
That
Mr.
would be
Chairman.
the
So,
section B amendment.
yeah, so subsection B is not in the bill. But I believe I tracked what Mr. Corrente was saying. And there were just 2 places where we would add requirement to take minutes and then a requirement to submit those minutes with the audit results.
Okay, everybody understand? All those in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. That amendment carries as well. Are there any further amendments? Okay, any comments? All right. Please poll the committee.
This is a roll call vote for Bill Draft 26 LSO-0250 as amended, post-election audit procedures. Senator Dockstetter. Senator Ide.
Aye.
Senator McEwen excused. Senator Olson. Senator Rothfuss excused. Representative Lean.
Aye.
Representative Locke.
Aye.
Representative Rodriguez-Williams.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Larson.
Aye.
Chairman Knapp.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes and 2 excused.
All right, that bill draft moves forward. Next up is 26 LSO 0251, removal of county officers, election code. Mr. Anderson.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is the final bill that was requested out of the subcommittee. 26 LSO 251, working draft 0.3. So this was referenced by Ms. Anderson earlier. This goes into the procedure to make a complaint to the governor for the removal of a county officer. So it makes, currently, that is limited to qualified electors or the Board of County Commissioners. This would make it clear, reorganizes the section and then adds a new sentence at the end. On page 2, beginning on line 11, the following persons may submit a verified complaint to the governor against a county officer under this subsection, alleging misconduct or malfeasance in office, qualified elector in the county, the Board of County Commissioners of the county, or C, the Secretary of State, if the complaint is against the county clerk and the alleged misconduct or malfeasance in office is for a violation of the Wyoming election code. And so that is the bill, Mr. Chairman. I'd take any questions.
Any questions? Secretary of State, you want to make a comment?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm certainly supportive of the bill. And I think, though, again, like on 249, I just want to be very clear on the case in Weston County that I believe the verified complaint addressed the false post-election audit. Because again, it said on point 2, complainants seek removal of Weston County Clerk Becky Hadlock for misconduct and or malfeasance in office as evidenced by, but not limited to, her sustained and worrisome pattern of negligence, lack of competence, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm certainly fine with amending this statute, but I don't want to feed into this culture of excuse making that we've seen from the governor's office by just conceding that the current statute was deficient in this case. And so I think it was addressed in the complaint. Okay, they didn't consider it, so now we're going to address it in the new complaints. But I don't want in any way for there to be some sort of idea that we're conceding that that the current statute was deficient in addressing it in the original complaint. But certainly all for further clarification in the green books, which prevents actors from making excuses that aren't there. But so I'm very supportive of the bill.
All right. Questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment? Hello, welcome. Please introduce yourself and any comments you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. J.R. Riggins, Casper, House District 59. For the first time, I read that complaint that Susan Love wrote, and I can imagine the pit in her stomach while she was writing that up. And I noticed the precision, wanted to be very accurate about it, but also I noted at the bottom of the page, the other election judges whose names were on there. I can tell you, if I was one of those election judges and they put my name on there and I wasn't in agreement pretty much fully with that, it's not going to be on there. So I'm not worried about this committee moving forward with this, but as we go into the session, I would like to see these people's efforts, because they all had to be almost sick to their stomach and they set that in. I've been in that position before, previous times, and a little queasy in the tum-tum when you do that. So what happens if nothing happens? The next election judge, what's going to be their reaction if they see this and they're going to think back, well, I'm not going to mess with that. So I think this is very important. So I just want to thank you for all the work you guys have done, and I hope it makes more progress as we get into February. Thank you.
Representative, thank you for being here today, too. Are there any questions for Representative Riggins? No, thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody online?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I'll close public comment, and what is the committee's pleasure? Bill's been moved, second? Bill's been moved and seconded. Are there any amendments to the bill? No? Any comments? All right. Please poll the board.
This is a roll call vote for Bill Draft 26 LSO-0251, removal of county officers' election code violations. Senator Dockstader? Aye. Senator Ide?
Aye.
Senator McEwen excused. Senator Olson? Aye. Senator Rothfuss excused. Representative Lean?
Aye.
Representative Locke? Aye. Representative Rodriguez-Williams? Aye. Representative Sherwood? Aye. Vice Chairman Larson?
Aye.
Chairman Knapp?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 9 ayes and 2 excused.
All right, that bill moves forward. Are there any other issues to come before this committee? If not, we will complete the other half of lunch. All right, with that, I will adjourn.
Wow, you hit that.